Welcome back to the Principles of Seven and Hastings Community Voice. Hope everybody's doing well. I wanted to give you an update on Dr. Copur. I know it's been quiet. I've been very busy putting together some things. And I'm happy to announce that we have officially formed a council. And when I say a council, I don't just mean a group of people who feel the same way that we do about Dr. Copur's situation. I'm talking about the founder of the Grace Foundation, who puts on the Cancer Walk. I'm talking about doctors, a surgeon, a pastor, a lawyer, and somebody who's served the city in multiple capacities for a very long time, Mr. Greg Sinner. As part of this council's duties, we've also put together some documents. We're going to get together a meeting here extremely quickly. We have the Cancer Walk coming up on Thursday, the 28th. So I might have something a little special for us then. But things are going to move forward. I can't say much about it right now, but let's just say we do have contact coming with the board of trustees. And I personally would offer to debate anybody from the board of trustees, Mr. David Zeckman, the man in the moon, it doesn't matter. What is being forgotten about and what has caused so many people to sign a petition, I don't know if everybody realizes the number of signatures that we have, and that doesn't even include all of them that viewed the petition. Now, some of you that signed the petition, up to this point, it made more sense to have an online petition, something where some people can access, and we have a lot of signatures. For the size of this town, it's huge. Just do some simple research, you'll figure out how big our voice has already been. Just with those number of signatures, with an official committee that is formed, and as long as we can keep that voice going, we know one thing for sure: we're going to be heard. And I don't know if I'm going to do it in this video, but I've told you before, I have 990s going back. I went back 5 years, which is their Mary Landing's federal tax filings. And on there we have some information. That is all public information. But I wonder how many people actually look at this information. And what this is about with this doctor, and the reason why Hastings is standing up the way that they are, I know things are progressing in medicine, and AI has gotten very powerful. But there's one thing that AI can never replace, and that is a doctor in oncology with one of the scariest diseases. To find out that you have cancer, to be told that you have cancer, affects you on a visceral level. There is no amount of intelligence that can replace what this doctor provides to his patients. And that's one thing that has to be considered. And that is where this issue truly begins. It's over the direction that healthcare across this country wants to go. And it's financially driven. When you get above, look, I ain't going to mince words. There are doctors that are not even above that. But when we're talking about the level of care to a patient, we're talking about the receptionist that greets the patients. We're talking about the nurses that assist and attend these patients. We're talking about the doctors that meet them face to face. And with a disease like cancer, to have somebody who makes his patients feel the way that Dr. Copur does, that's invaluable. And when we come to administration of a hospital, these are people that, although it is a vital aspect of the hospital, it is not about the grassroots, on the ground care of the patient. So when a community speaks up like this, I'm debating, I feel like it's okay to do that now. So I'm going to tell you that we have compiled together all of your comments. We've printed them out. We have printed out the petition. We have assembled a true council that involves legal representation from a lawyer standpoint to keep us on target, from doctor standpoints, from surgeon standpoint, all people who support our cause, from city planning, administration, patients, and we're not done. If you're interested in being a part of that council and speaking directly on behalf of every one of those signatures that we have obtained, reach out to me. I'm going to throw my email address out there right now, and that's going to be Principles of Seven, PRINCIPALSOF7 at proton, PROTON.me. Shoot me an email. Get a hold of me on Facebook Messenger. If we're not friends, just send me a message. It will prompt me. I'll accept it. Open dialogue. If you have any questions, I'm here. We're gonna get something together officially, so all of us will understand who our council members are, and we will make sure that we keep you updated. And I'm going to do a good job of that. I know the last week it's been quiet, but we've been working on some very important things, and things that take this from just people talking and voicing their support and voicing their concerns. In the last week, I've talked to a number of patients that are concerned with how their last visit went. And things are changing. People are saying it. That change can be good. But when you have this many people speaking up, you realize that the number of stories that have been shared with me personally, the number that I've read, and I have people that have been keeping an eye on Hastings Community Voice while I've been away doing these things and building a team to move forward with. So this isn't just a bunch of people talking. We can actually achieve what we set out to achieve. Now, I would assume that, for best way to put this, I don't think that they would be too happy if Dr. Copur showed up for the cancer walk. That's my personal opinion. And I'll just leave it at that for right now. Another thing that I have queued up for us. I want you to understand what big pharma, big medicine is about. And Maya Bialik, she has a great podcast. She's most of you know her. Like, she was in The Big Bang Theory. She played Sheldon Cooper's girlfriend, Amy Fowler. In real life, she's a neuroscientist. Many hats, very intelligent woman. And she has on Robert Edward Grant, and they typically deal a lot with consciousness. And those of you that know me know I'm very big into consciousness and psychology and studying those things deeply from many perspectives. That's my forte. But I wanted you to see this. I wanted you to kind of hear it. It's just funny that this came out 14 hours ago this morning after all the things that we've been working on. But it really brings it home. So without further ado, I'm going to cue that up for us.
When did you first have an indication that you could be in touch with these kinds of things?
When I was a big pharma CEO. Sounds kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people think that astrology is just mumbo jumbo, but without understanding, and they also think that mythology is mumbo jumbo. What if I told you that those things, whether they're astrological in their nature or mythological in nature, they're simply archetypal? And go into Jungian psychology, and then you start realizing that all of these things have deeper symbolic meanings. So I had always felt like, well, geez, we often say that there's no truth to astrology. And so from a, reductionistic scientist perspective, we can't even apply any kind of logic behind the thinking of it. But yet millions and billions of people follow it every day in some way, shape, or form. And there must be something to it if that many people are actually following it. Right? And same thing with mythology. Maybe the mythos that we're seeing and we're hearing the stories about are actually the things that we're living in our life and we just haven't done yet. Because we're cycling through time in a hero's journey. And that hero's journey is something that we don't really realize because we come in here into this world. We're born into a world of separation. We're born into a world where we think, okay, I'm in this material world and everything is separate from me. And so I start building up my persona more and more, not through what I decide I'm going to be, but rather what I decide what I'm not going to be. Because those things that bring me shame and blame and guilt and pain are the things I say I'm not that. And then instead of me recognizing that I maybe am those things as well, I start blaming other people for being those things. And that's narcissistic self-projection. And then we just continue on until we become absolute narcissists by the time we're in our midlife. And we have a hero bias, and we believe that we have to be existing so that, we can only define ourselves by where the villain begins. So where the villain begins is where the hero ends, and vice versa. I just read a quote yesterday that showed every dragon births a slayer. And I think from a philosophical perspective, we start to realize that there's something more to this archetypal knowledge. So I started noticing patterns in my own life and seeing that I was facing the same challenges over and over and over again in the corporate world, in my personal relationships and my friendships and everything. And as I started realizing those patterns, I started noticing that there was a pattern tied to numerology that was directly tied also to astrology, that was tied to some hidden geometric form. And music is just the geometry we experience with our ears.
I loved how you talked about music in one of the Codex episodes. I can't remember which, and it may come up, in a few places. But this notion that that's sort of your brain's way of showing we can use both sides in this beautiful way, but that they're kind of mirror images of each other.
That's right. Yeah. So we are living in a world of mirrors, and we live at that boundary of the mirror, and that boundary is defining a conscious persona and a subconscious collective. Or collective unconscious. And that's exactly where I believe we're living. And so instead, in that context, then, when you finally transcend beyond this notion that we live in a material world, but actually we live in a mentalism world, because you don't experience the world as it actually is. We all experience the earth, and our experience here is as we are, not as it is. We can't separate our conditioning bias. And so we could say then, in that context, that maybe all of academia is some sort of hallucination to believe that their version of objectivity is actually objective when there's no such thing as objective experience. There's only subjective experience. I've never once had an objective experience. Not in science, not anywhere. Because I can't separate. And this is what happens with big pharma, clinical trials. They get so ensconced in believing this is what it has to be that you can create the outcomes, right? This is like the Hawthorne effect. If you go and weigh yourself every day, the chances you'll be able to lose weight because you're micro-changing, making titrations to your own belief system that you're going to lose weight because your expectation, if I'm standing on a scale every day, I better be losing weight. Or if you're fearing too much that you're going to gain weight, every time you step on the scale, you'll actually gain weight too. So this idea that we live in a material universe, I think, is an entirely wrong supposition. And I think that the evidence is very, very much pointing to that you can't separate your experience from your own conditioning bias.
So I didn't mean to bore you with all of that, but I think there were several things that you're hearing in there. And if you go on to listen to the episode, he talks more about administration in the medical field and doctors and the world that they're growing up in, right? And he's coming from a world where he's a CEO of big pharma, big pharmaceutical companies, some really big ones. That's Robert Edward Grant. So I'll let you guys do your research on it. But the other thing that he talked about in there, why I chose that specific clip, is he's talking a lot about consciousness, and he's talking about the way we perceive things. And I think that's what Dr. Copur does. He changes the way we perceive. And whether you're a cancer patient yourself or whether it's someone that you love, one of your loved ones that's going through cancer, the first thing you realize is he gives you hope. You can't teach that. You just can't. And it creates something. It creates, out of all of the things that I've been talking about for a long time, that we're going to change in Hastings. This is the easiest one. This is creating voices. Voices that are going to make a difference. We're fighting a righteous war, so we're not going away. That's my message to Board of Trustees. And we have prepared some very professional things for this going forward. So I thank you all for your patience. I think I would be able to speak for Dr. Copur as well. He appreciates your support. And I don't think he realized that. I have it on good information that you have brought him to tears. I don't think he quite understood the impact that he was having on his patients. And I think he sees that now. So many of you have reached out to him. Over the years, I've gotten to know Dr. Copur pretty well. A wonderful human being, stubborn. Some would say arrogant, but he knows. He knows. Never a wife. Made his parents, his patients, and cancer his entire life. And without his parents, he directs all of that energy and all of that emotion into his patients. And that's what we feel. And that's what you can't replace. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your voice. Thank you for your patience. And when it comes to Hastings Community Voice, let's grow this into something bigger. We're still battling, believe it or not, on getting this group to become public. It has been scheduled so many times. It's almost like something is trying to fight us on that. But let's see what we can do to overcome that. Let's try to get this word out there. And the other thing I want you to know too, this council is not just going to be about this one issue and we're done. This council and this group of people that we have in the community is going to grow. We're going to make a difference. Why would we stop there? If we have a proven track record of being able to make a difference, then let's keep doing that. It's what I've done my entire life, and I have no intentions of stopping now. So let's keep this going, guys. Thank every one of you. God bless you. Be good to one another. And have a good night.